Buddy. I hope that everything is working. I hope it starts clicking right away. I just tried to do this a second ago and it didn't log in. So we will see if we are working today. Hope it is working this time. It's always like a roll of the dice to know whether or not it's going to work. So as soon as I see some people popping in, I will know whether or not to go so I don't start again when I didn't need to go. While I'm waiting to see if you guys pop in, I'm going to start throwing on some oils. I'm going to grab my peppermint. Put a little peppermint on. Oh, yay! I see a couple people already. So we are good to go. That makes me feel better. Sitting here talking to yourself, kind of crazy. So I am glad that it is working. So I got my peppermint going on. Gonna make my brain click and think better, be able to focus, not to mention hello, peppermint. It's the one I absolutely love. I'm also going to put on a little bit ylang ylang. We've been talking about that for all the hormone stuff and how it's so balancing. So I'm going to put some of that one on. Again, it just smells it. If you've never done peppermint and ylang ylang together, try that. That is pretty amazing right there. I'm also going to throw on, what do I got here? A little bit of abundance. Abundance going on. You guys know I love that one. I use it like all the time. Hello, Miss Ruth. How are you? Glad you are here with me today. All right. So it's been a minute. We were doing this series probably about 4 weeks ago was when I was supposed to do this the last two classes. And then we found out we had to move and it was like all overnight quick stuff. So we are in our new home. Everything is going beautiful and I'm able to start doing all my things again. And I'm going to start with letting you know, first of all, the PowerPoint. This is what I'm going to be using. I know some of you guys are like super fancy and you can do the PowerPoint and share your screen. I don't know how to do that yet. If any of you guys are ever with me and you want to show me how to do it, I am down for it. So what I do is probably what you guys are going to do. I'm going to use my PowerPoint and just use it as my notes so that I can teach the class. And this will be attached on the Shannon Hudson Weil page. You'll get the video and the PowerPoint attached together so you can turn around and teach it because that's my heart. Everything that I teach and share, I want you guys to turn around and be able to do the same thing. So I wrote out a whole bunch of stuff. You're also going to have the video to be able to take notes off. So you are welcome to do that. So this week is our healthy pineal, pituitary, and hypothalamus. And you're going to hear me say several times, I already did that on week 2, or I did it on week 1, or I did it on week 3. So if I come across something that we've already discussed in detail, I'm not going to take you through that again because this turned into, I think it's like 59 slides. I told Brian, I got to do like 1 slide a minute is how quick I have to go through this thing to cover it all because it's so important. Your pineal, your pituitary, your hypothalamus, like they're in control of all of it. All the different hormones that we've talked about, all of the connections, everything they have a role in. So I'm going to try to give you at least an understanding of what they do and how they work. So it's going to help you to be able to focus what you're going to do for it. So your hypothalamus. So your hypothalamus is really the connection between our hormones and our nervous system. That's the hypothalamus. It's in charge of it, but it does kick out some hormones. One of the hormones that it kicks out is called vasopressin, and that is the one that's in control of all of your fluids. If you're water retention, edema, whether you're thirsty, you're not thirsty. It's also your hunger center. Your hypothalamus is your hunger center. So if you're constantly hungry and you don't know why, it could be the hypothalamus. It's the one that connects to things like the leptin, which is the hormone that tells you, you've had enough, you're not hungry anymore. It's also the one that connects to ghrelin, which is the one that says, grr, I'm hungry, I want to eat. That's the hypothalamus. So think this is your hunger center, this is your thirst center. For those of you that tell me, I just don't ever think about drinking water, it just doesn't happen. It's because we have turned it off so often. We've ignored that. Our body says, hey, I'm thirsty. The hypothalamus sends the hormone, I'm thirsty. And we give it a drink of soda. And, oh, it's so much sugar, so much salt, so much chemicals. That's not what I wanted. And it asks again, and we give it soda. And it asks again, and we give it coffee. And it asks again, and we give it juice. And it asks, and that thirst mechanism gets shut off. It's like, well, I guess there's no water. If there was water, my body would give it to me. So sometimes we have to partner and help wake some of that up. So setting your timer on your phone is a great way to remind you to take a drink. And the only thing that really counts as water is water, because that thirst mechanism, that's what it's looking for. This good old fashioned H2O. So that's your hypothalamus. It does all those different things. And it even controls your autonomic nervous system. It combos with your both sides of the nervous system. It keeps them in balance. It's part of the hypothalamus. And our pituitary, which we're going to talk about next, is connected, literally the back of the pituitary, called the posterior of the pituitary, is connected directly to the hypothalamus. So some of these hormones that we're talking about are made in the hypothalamus, but then they are secreted into the pituitary via the anterior, because that's where the blood supply is. So that's where some of these are released, like that vasopressin. Oxytocin is another really important. When we talk about that neurotransmitter a lot, it's the bonding hormone. It's the one that helps the mamas to make milk. It increases the lactation. It's the one that helps the uterus to have contractions. It's the one that, did you guys know that oxytocin, when it kicks out, so a mom starts having contractions, she's going to have a baby, oxytocin goes up. It increases the contractions. But did you know that a side effect of oxytocin is that it helps to control fear and anxiety? This is really cool. Know that even our bodies are so brilliant that in the throes of labor and all that pain, that same oxytocin that increases the labor contractions and gets the milk ready to start coming out also helps us so that we don't experience the same fear. It helps us to relax and calm down. And the same thing happens when you're bonding, when the mom is nursing the baby or dad is feeding the baby. They got the bottle and you're looking in those eyes. Eye to eye contact creates more oxytocin, and that's all coming from the hypothalamus via the pituitary. So it's super interesting, and understand that eye contact increases oxytocin no matter what. So just that eye contact, that's that bonding, that's relationships, that's friendships, that's social interaction. That is, I have joked in the past that, if you've got a teenager who's not talking to you, just pin them down and look them in the eyeball, just get that eye contact, because after just a few seconds, you start to get a little oxytocin. After a few minutes, it's even more. So if you're feeling distance from a child or your spouse or your friends, sit down, have a conversation, chit chat about anything, but hold that eye contact. It's going to help increase that oxytocin. And if you're fearful of doing it, know that the oxytocin is going to help you overcome it. So it's just phenomenal the way our bodies are made. And your hypothalamus is the seat of all of your emotions. It partners right with that amygdala and all of your memories and all those stored things. This is where that's happening. This is why oils are so powerful when it comes to talking about that whole system. And really important, understanding that your hypothalamus even controls whether you're hot or whether you're cold, whether you're shivering and you get goosebumps. That's all hypothalamus doing that. If you're sweating, that's the hypothalamus doing that. So it's really important. It has a play in so many things. And because it partners with our pituitary and our pineal, it really has a role in all of it. When we talk about thyroid, I always talk about the hypothalamus being the dad, and it's because that nervous system, that dad, the hypothalamus, has to check off on all of it. He has to say, all good, let's do this thing. The other thing, let's make sure I did it. We talked about the feeding and feeling satisfied. That's all the hypothalamus. And after I give you the basics on what they do, we're going to talk about how we can hone in and give a little love and a little support. So if I say something like, oh, I have that, I sweat all the time, then you're going to know that that's coming from the hypothalamus. So we're going to do stuff that's going to support that so your body can get nice and healthy in all of those different areas. Let's see. So your pituitary has two parts. We already said there's the posterior, but there's the anterior. And both of them, they can actually be their own glands. They do so many things that are different from one another. A lot of the hormones, like I said, are made in the hypothalamus, and then they're stored in the anterior pituitary, and they kick out the posterior rather. But here's some of the hormones. I wrote them all down in this notes so that I didn't forget anything for you. So your posterior gland hormones. I talked about that. I talked about that. I talked about that. You guys already rambled through the whole notes. So I already did all of those. So now we're going to talk about the pineal. So for those of you that are like, I could just never teach the class. Look, so here's the picture. But look at all those beautiful notes. It's 2 pages. So when you're teaching this, you don't have to go over everything. I'm sure not. I'm skipping and sharing the bibbits. And if some of you want the green, you want all the deets, go read the PowerPoints for yourself because I did write it all up for you. So your pineal gland is this teeny tiny, it's like a little pine cone. It's like a third of an inch, and it's between the 2 hemispheres. And it was one of the last endocrine glands that was found. And it was like this really mysterious thing, and people refer to it as the third eye and all these different things. And the interesting thing to me is although we in, modern day just really got where we know what the pineal does maybe 100 years ago. But you know that the Greeks and the India and all these different places have talked about that third eye and that pineal gland or like ever. It's in a lot of the older books. And I find that fascinating because the pineal gland senses information. It senses it. So even with blindfolds on or in a darkened room, it senses information and it takes in information. One of its favorite sources of information is light. So when you are outside, we're just enjoying the beauty of outside, but your pineal gland is taking in information all day long, all of that sunlight, and it starts to balance all kinds of different things in the body. And it runs our circadian rhythm, which is really important. We'll come back to that a little bit more in a minute. But as the sun starts to set, so we don't see it getting darker yet. This is in the very beginning, like here in Michigan, this would be around 6 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock. There's a change in the color of the sunlight because as the sun is getting further away and going down, it changes. So instead of everything being these bright hues of blues, there's an undertone of yellow that comes in. And when that light begins to change, the pineal goes, all right, it's about to be my turn. And it starts raising the amount of melatonin in our body, and that melatonin continues to go up. And melatonin is so important. It does not get the attention it needs. We all think of it as just the sleep hormone, but melatonin does so much more, y'all. Melatonin is a massive, it's something your body makes, and it's a massive antioxidant. Like there are tons of studies that are showing that elevated melatonin, so that you're getting enough of that melatonin, helps with every single kind of cancer, like multiple cancers. It helps with taking care of that. It helps with your menstrual cycle. It helps with every neurological mood swings, depression, all those things. Your body has a hormone that it makes that helps us with that. That is melatonin. It's just a super powerful antioxidant that because we live in a society where there is light all the time. See, it used to be we lived outside, we worked outside, everything we did was out there. And when the sun started to go down, we stopped being able to have sunlight. We stopped having light, but now we have lights in every single room, and we have things like our computers. Our computers are popping out tons of blue light, and that blue light is messing with the pineal gland's ability to know what time of day it is. And it's messing with our circadian rhythm, which really does matter. Think seasonal affective disorder. People with that is because they're not getting enough sunlight, and their pineal gland doesn't know they're not getting enough sunlight, but it's not getting enough melatonin. So we're not getting into the sleep that we need, like all of these things. So there's a few things you can do that can help love on that pineal and help it simplify. So first, around 5, 6 o'clock, don't start flipping on all your lights. Let it go ahead and start getting dimmer. When you do have to start turning on lights, turn on your lights on a low wattage. You don't have to have, 300-watt bulbs or whatever. Just dim those down and then get yourself. I should have grabbed them. I have what I call sexy shades, and they are these big, huge glasses that I put on, and they block all the blue lights. And they're like 10, 15 bucks from Amazon. Type in blue light blocking glasses. And what they're going to do is they're going to allow, I can still work on my computer, I can still watch TV, I can do things, but it blocks the blue light. so it turns more of a yellow hue. So I always tell people you can do anything you want when you're wearing your blue light blocking glasses. Just make sure if you're making a graphic, that's the only time it really matters, because the next day when you take off those glasses and look at it, the colors might be a little bit off because you were wearing your blue light blocking shades. So those are some things that you can do. We're also going to talk about some other stuff you can do, but it's just so amazing. Melatonin is a mood stabilizer. But if we don't get any melatonin and we're constantly in that bright light, then when we try to go to sleep, we can't get to sleep. And we go through this cycle. And then when we stop getting enough sleep, we're not getting REM sleep. That's more neurological stuff going on. And some of the studies are actually showing that even schizophrenia can happen due to part, not the only, low melatonin. So I find that really fascinating, just things to look into. And let's see, what else do I want to tell you? Melatonin, it increases at nighttime. I already told you that. I should be looking at my notes instead of just rambling, y'all. Let's see. So what are some of the things that can lower your natural melatonin level? I think it's important to note. So alcohol, y'all, that one glass of wine, it still is messing with your body's ability, because part of this axis that we're talking about, the pineal, pituitary, and hypothalamus, they create all of these amazing neurotransmitters that we have. Things like serotonin. We talk about serotonin all the time. Not having enough serotonin can cause depression. Dopamine. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter that lets us enjoy stuff. If you find that you don't enjoy anything, like you don't look forward to stuff, you get up, you do your thing, you go back, it's a lack of dopamine. So a lack of serotonin is emotional. Everything is emotional. You want to cry, everything is bad, it's that frustration. That's a lack of serotonin. But dopamine, although they're similar, dopamine is different. Dopamine is a lack of, you just don't want to do anything. You just don't enjoy anything. Food tastes, everything. It doesn't matter what you eat, it all tastes the same. It doesn't matter what you do, where you go, what you watch, they're just all the same. It's a state of nothingness. And that's when there's not enough dopamine. And these guys work together for that. So alcohol numbs that. Alcohol changes that. Not enough vitamin B12. We'll talk about that one. I've got a whole section I'm going to do on vitamin Bs, but B12 plays a role in all of those neurotransmitters. It's part of its job, and it's part of its job for melatonin. Anti-inflammatory meds. So if you are taking anti-inflammatories, it blocks some of the receptors. So even if your body is creating or making it, it can't get in, and it can't give you that relaxation that we're supposed to get, because your cells have all these amazing receptors for things like your melatonin and your dopamine. Excuse me, dopamine. Took a bunch of oils right before class. Should have waited. What else? Steroids. Steroids also block. Same concept, anti-inflammatory. Cigarettes, antidepressants, frequent stress. All of these things will change your body's ability to do the different neurotransmitters. And like I said, that melatonin, which is so important. And I'm going to say this right here. Melatonin is not addictive. It is not something you have to worry. I hear people say that all the time. Well, I heard you shouldn't take it because your brain will stop making it. Not true. Your brain is way smarter than that. You can take more. There are literally cancer clinics that have people taking 100 and 200 milligrams of melatonin, and when the patients leave and everything is fine and they go home, their pineal is still kicking out melatonin. So it's just on a greater amount. So like your pineal gland on a regular day should do around 60 milligrams throughout the process of it kicking out melatonin. So if you're taking 3, 4, 6, 10 milligrams to help get you into that, because you know you've got things that have depressed that ability, it's not going to mess anything with that. So you are fine. It's not habit forming. It would be like saying air is habit forming. You're addicted to air. Don't take any supplemental oxygen. You're addicted to it, or water's addictive. Don't start drinking it. Once you start, you'll never quit. I mean, those might be true, but in the truth, do we not need all of those things? Melatonin is the same way. So I want to talk about melatonin. It fluctuates like hardcore. It fluctuates through your life. Like infants don't have any melatonin. They start making it sometime when 2 and 3 years old. It gets the highest amount of melatonin when they're in their 11 to 12 years old. And then when they become teenagers, it starts to dip. We're going to talk a little bit more about our teens and melatonin in a minute, but it makes sense that there's a transition. They have a hard time sleeping because that's when it first starts slowing down. And then as we get older, it continues on a decline. This is why a lot of times the elderly don't sleep as much. They wake up super, super early. They have a hard time going to sleep because although they still need that amount of sleep, our pineal gland is super sensitive and gets calcified. It gets hard really it just like through life it gets harder as we age. So we're going to talk about some of the things you can do to help avoid that from happening. But because that's happening, this is where that supplementing of melatonin or doing some precursors like tryptophan, which is an amino acid. It comes in meats and proteins. It's like in the amino wise, it's in the pure protein, it's an amino acid. Tryptophan is the precursor to melatonin. So if you don't have enough tryptophan, so you're not getting the good proteins, then your body doesn't have the building block that it has to have to turn it into melatonin. So those are some of the things we're going to talk about. And then going back to our teens, for an adult, like I said, around 5:30, 6 o'clock, when the sun starts going a little bit lower. It doesn't even look dark yet when it starts kicking it out. Your pineal senses it and it will start kicking it out. And about 2 o'clock in the morning, we are at our highest maximum amount of melatonin. Our brain is kicking it. So for those of you guys that stay up really late, you stay up to 11, 12, 1, you are really messing with your body's natural circadian rhythms. It's really important to get in a habit of going to bed at the same time every single night. So I recommend between 10 and 11 because that gives your body the time while it's building up. Then it gets at its peak and then it slowly starts to go down. So somewhere between 6 and 7, it's all used up. And understand also that cortisol is a competition. So that stress we get competes with the receptor cell for melatonin. So melatonin and cortisol, if cortisol is high, melatonin can't get into the receptor and put you to sleep. We have to get to sleep to get into that REM so our body can clean and do all these great things with the brain. That doesn't happen when that cycle is messed up. So making sure you're getting to bed at the right time. But now here's the crazy thing. For our teenagers, that melatonin doesn't start kicking out till around midnight. So it kicks out at midnight and it goes and goes and goes and it really kicks hard between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. And they're not ready to wake up, naturally wake up until around 10, 11 o'clock. That was an amazing bit of information I learned when my kids were younger because I could not understand why my teenagers were so crazy, why they would stay up all hours and not want to get up and get school going and all the different things. But understanding how their circadian rhythm, how their melatonin kicks out, really helped me to understand them a little bit more. So keep that in mind with yours. If they're still having to get to bed at a certain time because they've got school, different things, that's where doing some supplemental melatonin would be amazing because it's going to give them that little boost earlier so that they're able to get to sleep and do all the things. So that's just kind of like an overview of all three so you understand how they work together and what they all kick out. And I want to talk about some of the puzzle pieces that are causing some of the disruption that we have going on. Like what is missing that these things are happening? So the first one I want to do is I want to talk about Super B. Now I tell you guys all the time I could do an all day seminar on it. So this time I wrote up like a vivid on all of the vitamin Bs because I want you to understand the neurological connection and why it's so when it comes to your brain and your hypothalamus, your pituitary, your pineal, they're all up in here. That blood-brain barrier, all the things that we're talking about, they need these. So when it comes to me, now if I talk too fast for you or I miss any of it again, they're on my notes page. It'll be in there. There's 8 water-soluble vitamin Bs. And each of them, all of them work to control your metabolism. So how you burn fuel, fatty acids, glucose, gluconeogenesis, all of those, your vitamin Bs have a role in that. So first off, if you are exhausted, and no matter what you do, you are exhausted, it's probably the metabolism, the energy source. And it could be as simple as adding some of these foods we're going to talk about that are full of vitamin Bs. So each one has a different type of vitamin B. So I'm going to go over all of them for you. So it also, your vitamin Bs have a role in your DNA and your RNA. So making sure that they replicate like they're supposed to. It has a role in the energy. It has a role in all of the nerves. So think anything that has to do with nerves, your vitamin Bs have a role in that. diet. Like this is a really big one. This is cardiovascular health. This is brain. This is your skin. This is your sleep wake cycle. This is your energy. This is the way you bounce back after you exercise. This is all vitamin Bs. So B1, which is your thiamine, this one is really important for nerve function itself. The deficiency in thiamine can lead to confusion, poor coordination, fatigue, and it's super easy. You can find it in grains, nuts, seeds, and pork. So it's out there. You can make sure you get it. So think of this with your kids. If you have a child that trips all the time, they're constantly falling, you have any of the diseases that have coordination, like MS. MS is nerves and having a hard time moving, right? So that's thiamine. You could throw that in. It doesn't mean that this is going to cure anything, but it could help. What if this is your missing piece? This is what puzzle pieces are all about. B2, which is your riboflavin, this one supports your beautiful eyes. So you do have dry, itchy eyes. Do you have, it helps with eye fatigue. So in the evenings, if you're reading and doing stuff, your eyes are just tired or things are blurrier, could be B2. It's necessary for all of your red blood cell production. So think of that of anybody that you know that is having issues with anemia. B2 is a really important one to go. There's even anemia called pernicious anemia, which is where they identify it's the B2 that you're missing. That's how important it is for your red blood cells. It's also for the nerves and that whole thought process. Amazing for liver, skin, hair, and eyes. And you can find it. Ready? They're not hard to get in your food. Milk, yogurt, cheese, almonds, hard-boiled eggs, and spinach are all really good sources of riboflavin. So that B2, you can get it. B3, that is your niacin. Niacin is anything to do with your skin. Let's cover that first. So if you have itchy, weird spots on your body, you've got patches of dry, creepy skin, you've got cracked, gross heels, you have and anything. And think of your skin and be like, ew, I hate that piece. It probably has to do with niacin. Niacin partners together with B5, the pantothenic acid. They're just beautiful for your skin in general. But niacin is also for, what's it called? Dilating your veins, a vasodilator. So it's able to get that blood flow happening. How important is it for our brain to have the blood flowing like it's supposed to? As a matter of fact, if you take too much niacin, you get something called a niacin flush, and your skin will get all red and itchy and all the things because it's flushing that extra off. It's not a bad thing. It'll go away. But that's niacin. And signs of having a deficiency in B3, dementia, diarrhea, dermatitis, like those are just a few of the things. So things that it's found in, ready? Every protein containing food. Everyone. So think of something that has protein and be like, oh, it probably has some niacin in it. So that's something that you can upgrade so you're getting more of that, making good choices. That B5, the pantothenic acid we talked about, again, beautiful. The only thing we ever talk about B5 is for beautiful hair and our skin and our nails. Like, oh, B5. Listen, it is so much more than that. This is when this hormone is low, we tend to be more stressed out. We are more anxious. We have a hard time with that. The B5 helps to control and modulate cortisol. So cortisol goes up when we're stressed out, but B5 comes in and goes, oh, it's okay. It's okay. Just relax. That's B5. It is so much more than just skin. I mean, like, I like what it does to my hair and skin, but I take it because I want to make sure that my cortisol levels aren't crazy high. We talked about that in the thyroid and adrenal class, how dangerous high cortisol is. Well, there's an answer. B5 we're supposed to be getting. And B5 you can find in eggs, fish, sweet potatoes, broccoli, lots of the greens. It's a really easy one to get into your diet. Then you have B6. B6 influences your brain process and development by helping with the neurotransmitters, including, ready? GABA, serotonin, dopamine, noradrenaline, histamine, glycine, all of those neurotransmitters that we were just talking about that the hypothalamus partners with the pituitary for, all those neurotransmitters work better when you have B6. When B6 is not happening, then you're going to have that lack, that lower amount. So we need to start giving precursors so our body has the building blocks. It's kind of like if I asked you to build a house, but I said you get no wood, or here's a house, you get no nails, or here's a house, but you have no land. Like here's all the pieces. You got to have all the puzzle pieces to do the things. Well, to get those neurotransmitters, B6 is one of the ones that you need. It's powerful. And it comes in, oh, there was more. It also helps us support the central nervous system. We talked about that. Oh, this is really cool too. It helps with your myelin sheath. So for MS, the myelin sheath is where the scarring takes place. B6 helps to support that. So it's amazing for the nervous system as well. It also has been shown to affect memory loss and ADHD. Again, I don't know if this is going to be the thing for you, but since it's so easy to add those to make sure that you're getting all those parts and pieces, and you can get that from bananas, brewer cheese, beans, legumes, eggs, and sunflower seeds are all really good high sources of B6. So you can just figure out how you can add those to what you're already doing so you can get a wider variety of the vitamin Bs. Then you have B7, and that is our biotin. It's part of your healthy metabolism, great for enzymes. It's really important for enzyme production, and biotin is used for obviously hair and nails. We talk about it that. It helps to in the formation in, okay, so when you take in food, your body has to decide what it's going to do with the different things. So it takes the vitamins out, takes the minerals, all the different things, and then it's left with fatty acids, your proteins, and your carbohydrates. And it has to decide what to do with it. Well, this is where B7, where biotin comes in. Part of its job is to say, okay, you're going to get burned for as glucose, you're going to get burned over here, you're going to get burned here. It increases the fatty acid absorption. So if you're eating those avocados and all those good nuts, B6 is a part of that process for you. I'm sorry, B7. Then you've got B9, which is folate. We talk about B9 all the time because it is one of the ones that people that have a genetic disorder have a hard time absorbing. So this one is super important though. Like they have known for years, like about 100 years, that low amounts of folate in a pregnant mama, the baby can have lots of mental defects, like lots of different problems. They know that the brain doesn't grow like it's supposed to, the spine doesn't close up like it's supposed to, the nervous system doesn't work. So just not having the folate. Now here's the question. We're not told to take lots of folate as we grow, but does our spinal column continue to grow? Does our brain continue to grow? Does our nerves and our dendrites and our neurons and all the things? That's what folate does. It helps with that. It helps with that metabolism. It's also been shown, let's see, to protect against a variety of cancers. It can prevent heart disorder, stroke, helps to build muscle. It helps to form hemoglobin. Just it's one of those. All right. It's also really important for mental and that stability and relaxation. You can find folate in things like spinach, all the grains, asparagus, liver, Brussels sprouts. Those are some of the ones with the highest amounts of folate. So you can just switching what you're putting in your body on a regular basis can increase these numbers for you substantially. Then we have vitamin B12, and that's the one most people are familiar with. We know it's all about energy. We know if an elderly person is feeling, they can go in and the doctor will give them shots of B12. But it takes all the parts and pieces. And the cool thing about B12 is that it helps with the neuronal, the speed with which your brain thinks. Who needs your brain to speed up just a bit? That's B12. It helps with DNA. It helps with metabolism. It helps with the nervous system, all the things. So if you're needing that energy, that boost, some of the foods that you can do are, let's see, meat and dairy is really your biggest one. Also, if you get tingling in your fingers and your hands and your feet, that type of a thing, B12 is one of the ones to go to. Now, your best source, truly, your best source is making sure you're adding those foods into your life. You make a salad, you put some sunflower seeds, you got your greens in there, even some little asparagus chopped up inside there, put a big old piece of chicken chopped up on there, some avocado. You're getting so many vitamin B fortified foods. But if you know that you're missing stuff, and I think truly probably all of us are, we live in a very busy lifestyle. And did you know that every single time you get stressed out, every time you get worried, every time you're anxious, every time something crazy happens on the news, you use up vitamin Bs. So it's one of those things, they're water soluble. We have to put them back in constantly. So Super B is a great source to add those vitamin Bs back into your life. That's just one of those things. I always say I could teach this big class on it, and that's just the iceberg, what I just told you. Vitamin Bs are just that important. You're also going to find it in things like our multiform, our, oh my gosh, our vitamin, our master formula. Our master formula has all the right kind of vitamin Bs, the right forms, and then it's got a bunch of puzzle pieces in there for you. It's gonna fill, like maybe it has the minerals that your brain needs for the information to transfer back and forth. It's already in there, and it's in food form. Like you're gonna find beets and apples and camu and so many different things in there. You're gonna get your omegas in there. Omegas, y'all. We have a product. This is our omega dyes, and I can't be without omega dyes. Omega dyes are those good omega 3s that our brain needs. So remember, hypothalamus, pituitary, pineal, these are up in the brain, and this is where they need that fuel. Those good fats help our dendrites to grow. Think squeaky wheels. Think when your muscles are, your elbows are tight, your knees are tight. It's all those good fats that help to lubricate and bring it back. But our omega dyes has more than that. Our omega dyes also has in there CoQ10. CoQ10 is all about energy. So when my brain gets that energy that it's supposed to, and it's burning fuel like it's supposed to, that's powerful. But every single cell in your body, every single cell has a different receptor for CoQ10. Every cell needs CoQ10, and it's already in our omega dyes. In addition to that, you're getting vitamin D3. Now, so you know, our vitamin D3 is in several different things because we need a whole lot of it. It is in our omega dyes. You're going to get some vitamin D, and it is partnered with the essential oils of clove and German chamomile and lemongrass. And those oils being in this liquid capsule, the reason they're there is A, they protect the fats. So that fish oil stays good and healthy and ready for us. It also oils help to carry things in a little deeper. So you're going to get that great absorption. And then think about it. Clove is a massive antioxidant. It's a fat soluble antioxidant. So we have our Ninja Red, which is our water soluble antioxidant. Great food, massive antioxidants, all about the good stuff. So you go ahead, you take your Ninja Red, you grab your omega dyes. You're going to see some great things happening because those good healthy fats can cross that blood-brain barrier, and I'm telling you, you will feel that difference. The other one that we have that has all kinds of fats in it, it's got those omega-3s that we need, but they're in a plant form. It comes from the Santi Ichi nut, and you're getting good fats. You're getting medium chain triglycerides, which is like instant fuel for the brain. It gets that click, 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 but it also has things like L-CAR in there. L-CAR is our acetylcholine. It's a precursor, and acetylcholine is a necessary, what is it called? Neurotransmitter. I don't think so. But what it does is it goes into the brain and it helps our brain to function better. It helps with memory. It helps with focus. It helps with all of those, the information jumping at synapse. That's part of what that does. And then the choline, which is a part of the acetylcholine, is actually the foundation. So here's your cell. Choline is the foundation that your cell uses to build itself. Fascinating to me. And acetylcholine is something that usually dips as we get older, and it's in that mind wise. So it is food for the brain. The entire mind wise is this tasty, amazing blend of foods and parts and pieces that feed the brain. That have all those in there. It's got essential oils in there. It's got, like I said, those good fats. It also has more of that vitamin D3 because y'all, we need it. I'm just saying, it's amazing. It also has what else do we have in here? Let's see. Increased energy, improves memory, mental function. Acetylcholine is one of the major chemicals in your brain. It helps with memory, mood, muscle control, energy production, and that choline is that framework for all of your cells that we talked about. You need a drink real quick. Whew. All right, all right, all right. Next one is ImmuPro. Now, the next few that I'm going to talk about are ones that are going to help you be able to get to sleep. So in order for your brain to function like it's supposed to, our body needs sleep, y'all. I don't know why we try to skimp out on that. We need 7 to 9 hours of sleep every single night, and we need it consistently. That consistently going to bed at the same time every day and waking up at the same time, it helps that clock to just work more effectively. So ImmuPro. Now, ImmuPro is actually created to help with the immune system. So it has in there reishi mushrooms and all kinds of different mushrooms and all kinds of different parts and pieces that support a healthy immune system. It also has in there melatonin. It has 4.2 milligrams per chewable tablet of melatonin that's in there. And you could cut that in half and give it to kids. And I am burping up oils like crazy. It's like I'm a diffuser right now. But it is packed with so many different things, and it's all about the immune function. So when you're sleeping, your immune system is in there doing all of its cleaning and scrubbing. And the cool thing about it is when you're doing this, you still wake up refreshed and ready to take on the day. I love that about it. And again, melatonin is good for you. It's an antioxidant. That's the reason Gary put it in our ImmuPro. The other one is our sleep essence. Now, sleep essence is just a beautiful blend of 3 oils. You have ruta in there, you have lavender, and you have valerian. And valerian is the one that they actually use parts of valerian to make Valium because it helps us to get into deep sleep and what it does for the brain. And its natural source, which is what you're getting in the sleep essence, it helps you to drift off to sleep, stay asleep, and be able to wake up. So if the kids wake up in the middle of the night, you can get up, do what you got to do, and you can go back to sleep. I love that. I always tell people that the combination of cedarwood on my face, which we'll talk about in a minute, and sleep essence gives me that beautiful sleep. I used to be the kind of person that I would make a list in my head all night long. I would lay there for hours going over all the stuff I've got to do. And then I would finally fall asleep and then the alarm would go off and I'd be tired. And I lived in that constant cycle for years. And then cedarwood and sleep essence. And they just became my babies. Those were the ones that I used every single night. And that sleep essence, it only has 3.2 milligrams for 2 capsules. So you take 2 capsules at nighttime. It's got that ruta, the lavender, the valerian, and then you've got 3.2 milligrams for 2. So that'd be like 1.5 if you're taking 1. So where the ImmuPro, it's 1 capsule is 4.2, 1 chewable. The other thing I want to talk about now, these aren't for sleep. I'm going to come back to some oils that are for sleep, but I want to finish talking about the supplements. So the supplements of Powergize and Endogize. These guys right here. So Powergize is primarily geared towards our men, and Endogize is primarily geared towards our women. And these are overall endocrine support. So all of the endocrine systems that we have been talking about this 5-week series, all of them, these are feeding. So I'm not going to go into details on those because I did cover those in week 2, and I think I covered them again in week 3, so we don't need to talk about them in week 4. I just want to make sure you remember that they are a base, they are a core. And if you've not watched the other videos or you don't know where they are, go to Shannon Hudson YL, go under live Facebook videos, click on the hormone one. It has all of the replays for the last few weeks and the PowerPoints. That's where those are. And then NutriBrod, we already talked about it, so I'm not going to say anything about that one. Master Formula, we have talked about that one a ton, so I'm not going to talk about it. And those two are just, their foundation. Those are things that everybody needs. Like if I could get you started on a basic, it would be making sure you did the cleansing trail, then you had NutriBrod and Master Formula. I feel like they're that important to your body. And if you're not familiar, Master Formula is our 1 a day, right? That's our vitamins. But the cool thing is they're separated in 4 separate pills because they synergistically work together. So what's in one pill might not get along with what's in the other caplet if they were in the same one. They basically make each other neutral. So ours are separated so they're able to do their thing. Like our fat pill has vitamin A, E, it's got our vitamin D3 in there, it's got the turmeric essential oil, it's got all of our oils in one oily capsule because that's where it needs to be and when it needs to break down. Same thing with the one with all of the food. It's in there by itself, so all those pieces stay together. So if you go to the notes portion under Master Formula in the PowerPoint that I have, it will show you all of those supplements and what are in there and why they're so important. So as far as oils, I want to go on and I want to talk about Endoflex. I think I've talked about Endoflex all 4 weeks, and I will probably talk about it again next week because Endoflex is the communication. So you can take that Endoflex Vitality and you can put it directly in your mouth, or you can put it in a cup of tea and you can sip that. But it is a blend of oils that work so that we can get that communication between all of these beautiful glands so they're chit-chatting. Remember how I said that the hypothalamus and the pituitary actually touch each other, and they work together in tandem to do all this stuff, including all those neurotransmitters, and they put it into the bloodstream, and those guys have to talk to my thyroid, who have to talk to my parathyroid, who have to talk to my adrenals, who have to talk to my gonads, on all the things, who have to talk to my what's it called, my pancreas, which we will talk about big time next week. We're going to talk about pancreas, insulin, blood sugar, all the things and how that works. And I also want to remind you, because I should have said it earlier, the hypothalamus, because it's in control of our hunger center, our food and our drinks, it also has a role in insulin and it has a role in glucose. We'll go deep on that next week because I'm super excited. People need to know there's options. But Endoflex is sage, myrtle, spearmint, nutmeg, geranium, and German chamomile, all in one little bottle. And it comes in the Vitality, and it comes in the original. And you can use them however you want. I like to rub it over my thyroid, but I'm telling you, I believe that everybody should be doing Endoflex 4 or 5 times a day, and make sure your last one is around 5. Don't take it later in the day, because for some people, it doesn't do it to me, but for some people, it gives them a little bit of an energy burst right away, even at nighttime. I find that no matter what it is my endocrine needs right then, that's what it does. So if I'm getting ready for sleep, it helps me to calm down and quiet my mind. So the next one I want to do is energy. Energy is one we don't think of a lot for the endocrine system, but in all of our supplements, if you look at, energy, Endoflex, Endogize, that EN usually says it has something a little bit to do with the endocrine, but the energy is just a traditional, we do not have it in a Vitality, but it has rosemary, juniper, lemongrass, nutmeg, balsam Idaho fir, clove, and black pepper. It's an amazing, it has the ability to calm my mind so I'm not stressed, but give me the energy to get done what I have to do. So even late at night, if I'm trying to get PowerPoints done so you guys have all the notes, I can pull that one out and I can take that one, and it gives me the energy to get what I have to get done, but I can lay down right afterwards and go to sleep. I love that. Some of the oils I just want to mention quick are things like kids, the sleepies. You can use sleepies on yourself. You are worth it, and you can use it on your kids. You can also use rutabaga. Rutabaga is the same oils that are in the sleep essence, only it doesn't have the melatonin in there. So you can use that one, just put it on your feet, put it on your face, and then cedarwood. So what I would say in my trifecta is I do rutabaga on my face, and to me, it's not a great smell, but my brain goes, oh, we're getting ready to go to bed. Like it's such a tradition. And then I take my cedarwood and I put that all over my face because I love that aroma. And also, it's really good for your skin. It works with wrinkles and things. But they both let my mind quiet down. So that sleep essence, because I take sleep essence around an hour and a half before I go to bed. I take my sleep essence, and it just helps my brain start really getting there. And if I'm having a really stressful, we're getting ready for an event, and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to be thinking. I will take it 2 hours before bed, and then I will take it as I lay down, because that helps give me those layers of getting to sleep. And then you can use lavender. Lavender is great for that. Valerian is amazing for helping you to sleep. But then some wake ups, clarity. Clarity oil is something I don't think everybody knows about. If you combine clarity oil with your Endogize, it really does give you that sharp feeling in your brain, like boom, boom, boom. And then brain power. Brain power is all about the brain. It's all about that thought process that we're talking about. So you can rub some of that on. And then we have some vitalities I want to mention, like basil. Basil's amazing. It's just amazing. It's going to get everything clicking. So you can just rub it on. You can breathe it. You can put a couple drops under your tongue. You can put it in chocolate. You can put it in your tea. It's amazing. And then you can partner it with frankincense and tangerine. So those are some great ones that you can use that are really going to help with that whole thought process. Your hypothalamus, your pituitary, and pineal will thank you. I promise they're great ones. And then I want to let you know that we have got our April 15th is our next brand partner Zoom. We're going to be talking about structure, where you're putting people, a bunch of the questions and answers on everything coming up, all of the changes. And we're going to talk about your minding your words, the words that we say and how they affect our teams. Then April 17th, make sure you join the spring launch. You can do it live on Facebook. You can go to the Young Living page and watch it, or you can go in person. We're going to be in a person one here on that Saturday. So we'll be there with lots of people. I think it's sold out though. Then the April 20th is our pancreas, enzymes, and insulin. So it will be the 5th one of this series, and you will finally have them all completed and done. And again, all the PowerPoints and replays are on Shannon Hudson YL. And if you have any questions, any things that have to do with this, just post them over there. I read through them, and I will comment and answer questions if you need it. All right, guys. God bless. Have a great week.